Story, Colin. This is a big meatball for you. Jalen Hurts, your guy, one of your favorite quarterbacks that's not 6'4". Hey, he's coming off a Super Bowl MVP, destroying the Chiefs. Did you know this, Colin? Jalen Hurts is working with his 6th offensive coordinator in as many seasons, and the media asked him about it.
Kevin he'll be your 6th play caller. Going back to Doug, your rookie year. How do you know 6, right?
I don't count. There is a dynamic of adaptability that you have to be able to have and find success regardless of what the leadership looks like, what the voice is, who's in the quarterback room coaching me, or who's out there calling plays.
Yeah, no big deal. 6 offensive coordinators in 6 years. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes is just gifted Andy Reid. Yeah. Colin, we have some more stats for you in the Jalen Hurts argument. So since he entered the league in 2020, right? He is 3rd in wins, 3rd in total touchdowns, and 3rd in total yards, only behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. He's ahead of Joe Burrow. He's ahead of Lamar Jackson because he stays healthy. Jalen Hurts wins and scores touchdowns, and he's had 6 offensive coordinators in 6 years.
First of all, don't marginalize me that I don't like him. I do like him. I think he's like the 9th, 10th best quarterback in the league, maybe 8th. So first of all, but if you were GM tomorrow, your GM, Burrow and Hurts are on the board. Who do you take?
Well,
okay.
I guess I would lean Joe Burrow, but there's only 4 guys I would take over Jalen Hurts. That's it. That's it. I mean, I don't know how you have C.J. Stroud over Jalen Hurts off one good season, and the next season was
Okay.
Stunning.
I think Philadelphia surrounds Jalen with pretty good players. I don't know, just my hot take of the day. Okay.
Can you imagine if your radio show had 6 different producers in 6 years? You'd be so frustrated. Final story.
Okay. So I want to talk about this from a slightly different angle. I didn't, as I talk about when I set up these clips, I watched them for the first time in real time. But I can I can see the bottom, right? I got to know what clip I'm looking at. And so I knew it was about different offensive coordinators. And so in my mind, as I was setting up, like, I'm thinking about what I want to say. But then J-Mac throws this out here. And I want to talk about both, but I really want to talk about coaching more than anything, honestly, because I've done so many conversations about Jalen Hurts and his stats and how great he is and where his rankings are with other quarterbacks. And I don't want this clip to, be the majority of that. But I will say this: total yards, this is what stands out to me. Total touchdowns a little different, wins different as well. But total yards, all right, there's plenty of other quarterbacks out there that have, some great wide receivers, like Joe Burrow, great wide receivers, and plenty of gifted weapons and this, that, and the third. But the fact that he's 3rd in total yards, because it's not only passing, but also, him rushing, like the fact, like, I got in so many fights with people, throughout making those videos that I've made a lot recently over the last couple of months. How many passing yards does he have? How many? And it's just like, at the end of the day, total yards is more important. Quite frankly, when you're looking at a quarterback, it's seriously, if you're a quarterback and you're winning games, winning Super Bowls, and this or that, and you only are able to get 100 passing yards, but you rush for 200 yards a game, you'll be considered arguably the greatest quarterback in the history of the world. And you get game after game after you retire with with averaging over 300 total yards a game after game. You have an absolute argument to be the greatest quarterback of all time, because you are getting your team down the field, whether it's through passing or with your legs. It really doesn't matter. I mean, seriously, take that example to the extreme, and I'm not saying it's realistic, but when you take things to the extreme, it paints a clear picture. If you had a quarterback who could literally only throw the ball 50 yards a game, but he was able to consistently rush for 300 yards, okay, and you're winning games, you would take that over a quarterback who could throw for 250 yards, but only rush for like 20 yards here and there, right? Like a Stafford type, mobility type thing where it's like, yeah, he can get some yards, but it's obviously not his game. You'd be better off with the running quarterback. And again, as long as it's in the compounds of you like continuing to win games and, be able to operate an offense. And so, like, it's just total yards matter. And so he's 3rd right now since entering the league in 2020. That's pretty remarkable. Also, let's not pretend like he's had this stacked team from start to finish of his career. It's just not the reality, right? He either didn't have some of these guys like AJ Brown, Saquon, or some of those guys like AJ Brown, Devontae, Dallas Goedert have all been injured quite a chunk of their time during this Eagles rise with Hurts. So that does mean something. And we can stop pretending like other quarterbacks have had no one. Lamar Jackson, best example, great example right now. Let's not pretend like he hasn't year after year after year after year had unbelievable teams, because he just has. Dak Prescott has had awesome teams. Like all these other quarterbacks that people want to often say are just automatically better than Jalen Hurts. And I'm not arguing that Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar or anything like that. Like that's not these arguments that I'm making. It's just the real core of the videos that I make surrounding Jalen Hurts is how they use certain opinions or metrics or stats as a way to downplay what Jalen Hurts does. And when I look at something like total yards, you can't, you can't really cook the books with total yards in that regard. You just can't, because it's one thing if it was like total offense yards where like you could like like Saquon Barkley is playing into that, or Derrick Henry, some of these other things, but it's just not. That's obviously not the case here. And especially when they downplay what he does from a passing perspective, when they say he can't pass the ball, well then it's just like, well, he's not rushing for 2,000 yards a year either. So then if he's not a great passer, and he's not, again, rushing for like 1,500 yards a season, then how is he third with total yards? Like, it's just, right? Like, the math ain't mathing at that point. So he's obviously doing something great, and he's obviously doing something consistently, and he's obviously doing multiple things. Otherwise, you can't get there. I could understand you saying that the total touchdowns cooking the books because of the tush push, this, that. It's like, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I disagree with that. Because, again, if it was that easy, well, then why does Josh Allen not have a billion of these? Like, why does Lamar Jackson not? Dak? Like, you can go down the list of all these guys and don't say, well, they're O-line, the O-line. Plenty of other quarterbacks have great O-lines, all right? Like, just stop with that. So I do think Jalen Hurts gets a lot of credit for that, but I'm more open to you being like, well, it's a little bit different. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll play that game with you temporarily. I don't agree with it, but I won't completely say, well, that argument is complete garbage. But it does smell a little funny. But in terms of having 6 different OCs in 6 seasons, first off, listen to Jalen Hurts talk. Like, I was laughing because it's just like, man. And I'm a very intense person. I'm very emotional. I go up and down, up and down, up and down. And in a lot of ways, like, it's why I'm me. When things are great, man, it's great. Like, I'm the type of person that you want to go on a road trip with, go to an amusement park, because like, we're going to have fun. Everything's going to be heightened, exaggerated, magnified. And it's like, let's get after it. But when things are going a little bad, things can get pretty intense in my world. And it's like, things can get dramatic, and it could be like right out of a movie, where things are just, it's not a happy ending. And I look at Jalen Hurts and just like how even he is. And I'm just like, man, like, because I'm even going through a little something right now. And I'm just like, gosh, man, if I had this guy's like mentality, just like a straight line, I'm like, man, like, you can get after it. And I just love that. Coming off the back of watching like Shedeur Sanders get speeding tickets, and, just a bunch of other people just saying weird stuff. You just got Jalen Hurts, man. Just the definition of a rock. I mean, seriously, like that. That's a spirit. That's a spirit animal. A rock. Like, it's just wild. And I believe him too when he says I don't count. Like, he's not trying to be funny. He's not trying to be this. He's just like, I don't think about it, because I think he is very much. I think this comes from his faith, right? It's like the whole let go, let God. It's very much like, I'm gonna control the things that I can control, and everything out of it. It's just like, I actually really do. Just like, there's just nothing I can do, man. And like, we all know that. But like, we can't live it. And Jalen Hurts lives it. And I find it inspiring. I'll be totally honest with you. And, all these things with these coaches, it's like, I constantly keep trying to find different ways how to just plead and express the importance of coaching. Because I get it. Fans identify more with the players. They want to be the players. They feel that they once upon a time were the players, or they play them as video games. There's no video game where you're like playing as the coach. You're not like, I'm going to be Andy Reid, and your friends are like, I'm going to be Sean McVay, and you guys are going to like play against each other. It doesn't happen, right? Like that's not, no 12-year-old had a sleepover is like, I'm going to be Sean McVay. I call Sean McVay. You always get Sean McVay. Like it's not how it works here. And so I get it. People are all in on the players, and understandably so. But like coaching and coordinating, especially considering that Sirianni is definitely more of a walk around coach, right? When it's just the coordinators matter so much, and constantly having a new coordinator in this, it's wild. It's so hard, and it's so much harder than I think people really understand. The foundation of it is, one, that coordinator needs to be competent, obviously. But two, that coordinator needs to understand who you are. He needs to understand your weaknesses and strengths. That is such a foundational component to being a great coach. And when you listen to Jane Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury, Jane Daniels talked about this. He's like, Cliff Kingsbury, we had really honest conversations off season going into this, his rookie year of like what I can and can't do. And really catering an offense around that, because it's so important to understand this. And now in year 2, they want to push that and try to grow what you can and can't do, and reduce the can'ts and turn them into cans and whatnot. And it's such a crucial part of coaching. And really, that really only comes with experience. There's nothing new that Andy Reid is really learning about Patrick Mahomes at this point. They can kind of give the generic like marriage type things where it's like, I'm still learning new things after 20 years of marriage. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Your wife has not told you something new in the last like 15 years. Get out of here. And like that is what it is with coaching. And it matters so much. And every time he's hitting the reset button, every single time, and just personalities. This stuff it is actually one of the biggest things that you can put in the check box. Make a check mark in the box of Jalen Hurts' greatness of having to deal with this many coordinators. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. And when you have continuity of coaching, listen, I understand that the vast majority of people in their life have probably not really had continuity of coaching. The vast majority of people have not played on a team that was actually truly competitive, where you really had to try out, where you get cut, and where you were actually now with the same players or the same coach, the same coaches year after year after year. The vast majority of people, if you did play sports, it was probably some sort of intramural league, and it was probably for some, some dad or some mom, whatever it is. And the next year, you were with a new dad, a new mom, and like there was just a volunteer coach. Not many people have been coached by people who are actually paid to be a coach. That is actually their responsibility. And I mean, listen, it can be a gift and a curse, because sometimes you get attached to a coach who's like not it, but it's just like that's where you're at. I mean, since I played all different sports and at all different levels, it's like I've had same coaches for like 10 years, right? And I've also even had the parent situation, right? Because I played some intramural leagues as well, especially growing up before I entered some of like the truly competitive leagues. And it's like I had a dad for this year, and then the next year I had another dad. And it's like, some dads know what they're talking about, and some are just like, come on, guys, let's have some fun. And it's just it's all different levels. But when you get continuity with a great coach, like it's just night and day, man. It's just night and day. They understand who you are. They understand how to put you in positions to succeed. I talk about this so much. Like that really ultimately becomes the number one job of a coach, is putting you in a position to succeed. One of the best coaches I had, and one of the biggest tournaments of my life, and one of the biggest sports moments I ever had in my life, I felt like I was backed into a corner, and I succeeded. And it was again, to this day, one of the best moments I had. Doesn't matter. But so I don't want to brag, but and I remember we were on the bus and we were coming home from the game, and we were all laughing about it in the back of the bus, and people were teasing me, and I was also kind of feeling all good, and I was just like, oh yeah, I don't know if coach trusted me. And I guess like he heard me say that, and he like called me up to the front of the bus, and he was like, I did what I did because I knew you could succeed in that moment. He goes, and he told me this is when I first learned this lesson. He goes, as a coach, it's my job to put my players in positions to succeed. He goes, I would never put you in a position where I did not think you could succeed. And it was like, that was like the most empowering, seriously, that was one of the most empowering lessons that I learned from a coach that I still apply to, to myself, that I went and that I now pass on to other people. When I'm, teaching either kids, either people my own age or parents or people older than me or actual true like 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, whatever it may be. And you only get that when the coach understands who you are. When you have a coach who's seen you grow and evolve and has been coaching you for more than at least a year. And that coach was, that coach at this point has known me. He's seen me fail spectacularly. He's seen me fail in some of the most embarrassing moments. And he's seen me succeed in some of the most spectacular moments. Those things matter. And Jalen Hurts has not had that luxury. He just hasn't. And again, that matters. It's all the more remarkable. It's remarkable. We talk about it with like first-year head coaches. If a first-year head coach gets hired and then just like that wins a Super Bowl, people would be like, that's insane. That's impressive. I got news for you. For a coordinator like that, it's pretty impressive. Now, I understand Kellen Moore wasn't a first-year coordinator. He's had his experience and whatnot, and he wasn't the head coach, so you get to focus more on the offense. But the fact that Jalen Hurts was able to execute that offense flawlessly, I don't care what anyone says about the stats or this or that, flawlessly, get concussed, come back into the playoffs, and not skip a beat. I'm not going to tell you that it was like the prettiest at certain moments, but to essentially lead this offense, and that's what he did. He led this offense. He is the quarterback. He led this offense to the most prolific offense in playoff history, scoring the most points, setting records, and him being a massive reason for that. We can downplay it all we want. We can say, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, the O-line. That's a whole bunch of nonsense. He was a massive part of it. Like Colin said, tongue-in-cheek at the end, well, the Eagles put a lot of talent around him. Absolutely. And what does he do? He elevates that talent. He leads them. He is not a detriment. He keeps them afloat. There's been plenty of other quarterbacks who have been surrounded by awesome talent, and they did not do what Jalen Hurts did. How do I know that? Because they hold the records. They scored the most points in a conference championship game. They scored the most points in all of the playoffs, in playoff history. Right? The Super Bowl stat that I keep, saying over and over about how Jalen Hurts is the only player in football history, not even just Super Bowl history, to throw for over X amount of yards, completion percentage, rushing for, again, whatever the cutoff points are. Other quarterbacks did not do that. And he did it with a coordinator who he's had for all of 2 minutes, who's already gone now. That is remarkable. That is remarkable. One of my other favorite quotes now is, and this was not lip service, they asked Patrick Mahomes, how long can this keep going? And that was when Patrick Mahomes was really, everybody was really feeling the Chiefs right up until they faced the Eagles. And they said, how long will this last? And he said straight up without skipping a beat, as long as Andy's here, as long as Coach Reed's here. It's a real thing. Coaching matters. And if Patrick Mahomes knows it, if Tom Brady knows it, if all these other all-time greats, legends, players that have been playing basketball, baseball, soccer, football, whatever, if they all know it, fans need to know it. Fans need to know it. And it's a true accomplishment. It's a true accomplishment. And you know what? Best case scenario, if the new coordinator for the Eagles is amazing, he's going to be gone too. I mean, like, that's the reality that Jalen Hurts is living right now. And it's it's not what they have to deal with Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, Andy Reid. Like, it's not. It's not. And even someone like a Tom Brady, who had, he kind of hopped around ever so slightly with some coordinators and whatnot. When you have a coach like Bill Belichick, who is such a brilliant defensive mind, where they have their weekly meetings, which I talked about a lot before, where the defense, where Bill Belichick every single week was like, this is how I would stop you. Well, that is now some of that. It's not exactly an offensive coordinator. It's definitely a little differently, but there's still a lot of that continuity, not to mention, obviously, the continuity of an elite defense year after year after year after year, right? That is not Sirianni's role, and I'm going to be doing a separate video really praising Sirianni. I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw like a second clip, and I was like, I want to watch this live in real time because I want to make a whole video about it. And I'm excited to do so. So again, I'm not downplaying Sirianni's role in winning, but it is. There's just different flavors of doing this. And if you really zoom in to Jalen Hurts' experience, just Jalen Hurts, not team, but Jalen Hurts' experience, yes, his life would infinitely be easier if his head coach was essentially also the offensive coordinator, like you have with Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, etc., etc. Like, it absolutely would be better for him. And the fact that he now not only doesn't have that, but he has a new coordinator year after year after year after year. It's something special that he's been able to be this consistent. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jalen Hurts? And the whole fact that, one, look at those stats, they seem pretty good to me. But two, more importantly, about all the different coaches that he's had over these years. And it's even longer than that. It's been like that since college and whatnot, and I think even high school. I feel like it's something like he's had like 12 different coordinators in 12 years, like something outrageous. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.